Welcome back to Shoe Leather Faith. Again, my name's Robert McMillan, and I'll be your teacher for the next few minutes as we study more of the characteristics of the godly man. Last time, remember, we looked at the godly man as a man of courage, a man of vision, a man of humility. Now we're going to look at some other characteristics as we finish up this first part of the characteristics of the godly man. The next characteristic is going to be a surprise to some of you. The godly man must be a man of anger. In Mark chapter 3, verses 1 through 5, turn there if you will. Mark 3, verses 1 through 5. I guess I should do it too. Mark 3, 1 through 5. Oh, there it is. I thought they'd moved it. And he, Jesus, entered the synagogue, and a man was there who had a withered hand. So they watched him closely, whether he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. And he said to the man who had the withered hand, "Step forward." Then he said to them, "Is it lawful on the Sabbath to do good or to do evil, to save life or to kill?" But they kept silent. Remember, they're only out to catch Jesus breaking the Sabbath. And that's breaking the Sabbath according to their made-up rules. One of their rules was you cannot wear false teeth if they're made of metal on the Sabbath. But if they're wooden teeth, it's okay. Right? How dumb is that? And continuing on, and when he had looked around at them with anger, being grieved by the hardness of their hearts. They didn't care about that man with a withered hand. They were only concerned about trapping Jesus. He said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." And he stretched it out, and his hand was restored as whole as the other. Now think of what happened there. That wasn't just, oh, it's better now, like you see on TV faith healers who are just fakes. Yeah, I said that. And it's still true. This was a man with a withered hand. There were sinews and muscles and everything else and distorted knuckles and nothing worked. And he stretched it out and it worked. Everything was there. There was the creation of matter. And think of what had to happen for that hand to work exactly the way it was supposed to work when he was born with it. Verse 6. Then the Pharisees went out and immediately plotted with the Herodians against him. Now, Pharisees and Herodians hated each other. But the enemy of my enemy becomes my friend. And that's what happened here. They'd worked together to destroy Jesus because they both had a stake in getting rid of this man who's teaching God's truth. Then the Pharisees went out and immediately plotted with the Herodians against him, how they might destroy him. They didn't care about truth. They didn't care about helping people. They cared only about their position in the culture. Jesus was capable of anger. Now, when would he be capable of that? When is it righteous? Jesus was capable of anger when God was dishonored. When men were enslaved through injustice or abuse, when men were restrained from worshiping God. Remember, he cleansed the temple twice, at the beginning of his ministry and at the end of his ministry. Why? Because the sellers of animals and the money changers and all the rest, and the salesmen for churros and burritos and all that stuff, that was there in the court of the Gentiles, the place where the Gentiles would have to come to worship. That's as close as they could get to the temple. And here these guys are selling all kinds of things with, I'm sure there was a guy selling t-shirts. And Jesus was angry because people were being kept back from hearing about God because these guys were making a mess of his temple. And the Gentiles were not able to come to the God of Israel. So twice, in anger, he cleansed the temple. Do you know that every time that the word hypocrite, which is a Greek word, is used in the Bible, Jesus says it, hypocrites. It's a translation, it's a word that means actor. Because when a Greek actor or a Roman actor would speak his lines, he held a mask up to his face and he spoke from under the mask. He was pretending to be something that he simply wasn't. He spoke under the mask. Every time but one passage, a passage dealing with the judgment of the wicked, Jesus was angry. It was hypocrite. It was in the vocative form. Hypocrite. And he was angry. Every time it's used, Jesus is the one using it. And he's angry. All the violence of the tribulation, think of it, 7 years of endless tribulation, will be directed from the temple of God in heaven by a righteously angry God. It was righteous anger against the heartless slave traders that caused William Wilberforce and his friends in the Clapham sect, including William Pitt the Younger, to move heaven and earth for the emancipation of slaves. The emancipation of slaves was the result of Christians realizing in the anger of God how wrong slavery was. So it's okay to be angry. Not ticked off, but angry. The godly man is also a man of patience. In 2 Peter 1, verses 5 through 6, it says, "But also for this very reason, giving all diligence, add to your faith virtue, to your virtue knowledge, to knowledge self-control, to self-control perseverance," that's patience, to perseverance godliness. Perseverance is that virtue which surrounds godliness. Here's a quote by William Barclay, and he says, "The word never means the spirit which sits with folded hands and simply bears things. It is victorious endurance, masculine constancy under trial." Did you ever think of it that way? Patience as masculine constancy under trial. It is Christian steadfastness, the brave and courageous acceptance of everything life can do to us, and transmuting or changing of even the worst into another step on the upward way. It is the courageous and triumphant ability to bear things, which enables a man to pass a breaking point and not to break. And always to greet the unseen with a cheer. The final characteristics is a godly man is a man of gentleness. In 1 Thessalonians 2:7, Paul says to the Thessalonians, "But we were gentle among you, just as a nursing mother cherishes her own children." What more gentle picture can you see? Paul proved his concern and love for the Thessalonians by his gentle demeanor. In 1 Timothy 3:3, a godly man is gentle. That means he's willing to yield. He's not determined he's going to have his own way. The gentle man is equally comfortable in the nursery world as he is in the business world. His masculinity is not threatened by pitching in to help his wife around the house or to play with his children or, worst of all, to change a diaper. I'm not telling you to go develop your feminine side. That's not what I'm saying. But please don't assume that gentleness is not manliness. It is time for the man of God to rise up and hold up the standard of true manhood in a world in which the only example given is a caricature. Do you men wish to recommit yourself to being the men of God designed you to be? I hope so. Rise up, O men of God. Have done with lesser things. Give heart and soul and mind and strength to serve the King of Kings. Rise up, O men of God. His kingdom tarries long. Bring in the day of brotherhood and end the night of wrong. Rise up, O men of God. The church for you doth wait. Her strength unequal to her task. Rise up and make her great. Lift high the cross of Christ. Tread where his feet have trod. As brothers of the Son of Man, rise up, O men of God. Could you sing that song? Would it be true of you? I hope so. Until next time, this is Robert McMillan saying, thanks for tuning in.